Alright guys, so I'm making all these awesome videos for you and I'm thinking to myself, maybe I need a second camera. Do I need one? No, I don't need one, but do I want one? Would it make life easier? Could I video myself videoing stuff? Absolutely. So I'm browsing last night at, the 1 a.m. Amazon shopping sprees, and I pulled the trigger on something. Something small, something portable, and I don't know if it's going to stack up, if it's going to be good enough, because, I've heard some things about it, and I had the very first one. We're on generation 7 now, so we're going to go ahead because it just showed up. We're going to check it out. Here we go. So let's just cut into this bad boy and just get right to it. The specs of this thing, and I got to admit I haven't looked at GoPro very much in the last little bit, considering I had the first one 1,000 years ago, but at first glance this thing has an incredible amount of features. So looking at the camera, it's just a 12 megapixel with a few shooting modes. Nothing special there, but of course we buy this thing for the video. And it does offer a few attractive video options, from 4K 60 all the way down to 1080 at 240 FPS. But one of the first things that you're going to notice is that depending on the resolution you use, you're limited to your recording angle or field of view. And that's kind of a funny thing to wrap your head around right away. It's also got a 4:3 aspect ratio option for recording video, and a looping function in case your memory card gets full. And probably the most exciting feature for me and a lot of people is the ability to take quick time warp and time-lapse videos. And here's a few settings for those, but we'll get into that more later. So here's just a quick unboxing, and as usual, GoPro's really made this a minimalist setup, which is what we're looking for, including just a couple things that you need and a few that you don't. Right out of the box you've got the camera itself, some very basic setup instructions, the good old-fashioned manuals, a USB Type-C charging and data transfer cable, 2 sticky mounts, 1 battery, and the camera and case. Here's everything that it comes with laid out together. Setup is a breeze on this camera and should only take about a minute. Just power it up, select a few options, download the GoPro app on your phone, select your camera, and hit connect. Simple as that. Now as far as build is concerned, this thing has quite a bit going for it. It's got a rubberized grippy coating, and it does come with a case, but it's not waterproof. And that's a bit weird to me because this thing is supposed to be an action camera, and most likely it's going to get wet. There are options out there at an additional cost. The ease of use on this thing is incredible. It's got a beautiful intuitive touchscreen, and I'll cover more of what I like and what I don't like in a pros and cons chart near the end. Overall for build, I give it 4 stars. Now if we're talking about value, it's really kind of hard to place because I'm not really still 100% sure who this camera's for. And at $400 American on release date, it's not a cheap product. In this day and age, we've got mirrorless cameras and DSLRs becoming very competitive and getting relatively inexpensive. We also have the incredible capabilities of our phones these days, so it's hard to really place where exactly this thing fits in. And don't think your investing stops when you purchase the camera. There's a million different accessories, and luckily these days a lot of third-party companies are making their own, which are just as good, but usually a fraction of the price. So does it have value and is it worth it as an action cam? Probably. What about a vlogging cam or a second camera? Maybe, I'll let you know. Although this thing is kind of in a category of its own, it is packed with features and fun to use, So because of that, I'm giving it 4 stars for value. Alright guys, here we are. We're testing out the GoPro Hero 7 Black, and we got the dog and the baby with me today, so we're gonna just kind of do our best and go on a little adventure. Here we go. So I wanted to switch it up a little bit this time and kind of give you guys a real world review of exactly how this thing performs out there. Now the audio you're hearing is straight out of the camera. It's using the camera's mic, and the video is also straight out of camera. I haven't edited anything. Just to give you an idea of some of the features and some of the quality you can expect out of this thing. Here's an example of time warp mode at 10 times. Another awesome feature that lets us be really creative with our work. Alright guys, we're here at the trails, and we're going to see just what this thing can do, whether it's going to stack up to my big bulky mirrorless in comparison, and really if the audio is going to cut it for, you know, vlogs, for everyday videos and stuff like this, and then we'll see how it goes. So my thinking behind buying this camera was to get some creative B-roll and to have something that's easily on hand to be able to get some creative shots and just expand my tools. It's actually easier to use than I thought it would be. Does it replace my main camera? Absolutely not. Is it a good addition? Maybe. Alright guys, here we are. Second day of spring, we're out on the trails. And we're going to test this bad boy out to see if it's usable. And right now you're looking at the linear mode in 1080p, 24 frames a second. And we're just going to go through maybe a couple different of the settings so you can see the differences in the modes and the point of view and all that good stuff. And yeah, so here it is. This is walking through, and one thing that I've tested out a little bit last night, and the image stabilization is again one of the biggest features of this thing, and I gotta say it's totally true. It's phenomenal, and I'm gonna put it through its paces today. What's that, bud? And we're gonna see what this thing can do. And just like that, we switched over to the wide mode, and obviously I can't see what you're seeing, but imagine it's a bit of a difference, kind of neat, different perspective, and then we'll switch over to super wide, or super view I think it's called, and see exactly how wide this thing can really go. There we go, and now we're on the super view, which is the widest of the angles on this thing, also 1080, and yeah, you can see a little bit of distortion. I think that's kind of cool for effect or whatever, but definitely a neat feature. And yeah, there's kind of the differences. Check it out. To put it all into perspective, here's all 3 of the views that you can use. Keep in mind that the availability of these do change depending on the resolution you're using. So the whole point of having a camera this size is for you to bring it everywhere. So it's going to have to be able to perform everywhere that you go. And how does it perform in low light? Well, about as well as you'd expect out of something this small, and maybe even a tiny bit better. Here's an example of a low light time lapse that I took just for fun. And keep in mind, this is also on very, very bumpy ground here at the end. The image stabilization performs amazing. And another cool feature the GoPro's added is all of these gauges and info that you can add to each of your clips in the GoPro quick editing software. I already touched on the ease of use of this thing, and I wanted to just go over the app really quick. It's so simple to use, and you can basically control almost every aspect of the camera in the app. Whether you want to stream live, take pictures, videos, or time lapse, or adjust the settings in real time, you can do it. And it's great to be able to hold your phone and the camera to see exactly what you're filming. I was a bit surprised to learn that the battery life was only about an hour and a half at best. You can turn off the Wi-Fi and GPS for minimal difference, but compared to my last GoPro and earlier versions, this battery life is not impressive. Luckily, extra batteries are relatively cheap, and maybe think about grabbing a power bank for longer days. So one of the things I mentioned earlier was the ability to actually see what you're recording, which is awesome. Just by holding up your phone like this, you can see yourself and what's going on without the flip screen, which I'm kind of used to anyways, but it is a nice feature. At this point, you've probably heard for yourself, the audio on this thing is not the best. It's actually not the worst that I've ever heard, for sure. It's a bit better than I expected, but it's still not something that I would probably just be posting out there for you guys to hear, because it doesn't sound that good, and depending on the wind and the noise. So I am going to be trying to put together a little vlogging setup for this with a microphone attached. But one thing that does bug me about this is that the microphone port, or lack thereof, and GoPro does have a little cord that you can actually put a microphone on top at an outrageous cost, and I think it's a bit of a cash grab. It's a little bit frustrating, and that's probably one of my biggest complaints, is just the hassle that you have to go through to get proper audio. And at this point, I really hope on the next one that they do include a mic port. So overall, for performance, it does work well for what it is, with just a few negatives, and because of that I give it 4 stars. So wrapping up, let's not forget about what this camera is truly for, and that's capturing life at its peak. With the amazing ability to go anywhere and everywhere, and having the versatility to capture slow motion and its new incredible image stabilization, you're free to be more creative than ever. And that's what inspires us. You don't always need to be climbing a mountain or scuba diving. But GoPro's always been about getting out there and pushing the limits, being creative, and I think this tool is really going to allow me to do that in new ways. As promised, here's a list of some pros and cons from my initial time with this camera. Overall, it's a cool little camera packed with features and versatility, and I give it 4 solid stars. I also rate things on a scale from never think about again to consider to definitely buy. And in this case, if you're looking for an action camera, a second camera, or something for traveling or B-roll or just cool things, this might be the one for you, and I'd strongly consider it. Well, that's it for this one, guys, and thanks for watching. I hope you liked it, and if you did get something out of it, hit that like and subscribe button, and drop your questions and comments down below. Because I just got this thing, I'll probably do a bit of an update video maybe in a few months when I've had it for a bit longer, and let you know my thoughts at that point. But if you're considering picking one of these little guys up, I'll drop the link below and you can, it'll take you to where you need to go. Other than that, as always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you in the next one, guys.